Hey guys, welcome back to today's edition of NDD. And as promised, I'm going to start getting into some of the breakdowns of the positional groups, the transfer guys that came in, some of the freshmen, the true freshmen that'll be center stage this season for Notre Dame. And I want to start with a portal guy in Malachi Fields. And we knew that leading up to the start of the 25-26 season, which begins August 31st against Miami, that a big part of Notre Dame's roster was going to come via the transfer portal. Now, Marcus Freeman builds the roster from within developing guys, and he prioritizes recruiting because that's overall how the roster depth is created. But now that the portal is part of the game, Notre Dame went out and brought in 8 new faces to help guide this program on both sides of the ball, and I want to start with Fields. 6'4", 220, physical specimen, and that's exactly what he is, with an incredible ability to high point the ball and make contested catches. If you didn't see too much of Fields, who spent 4 years at UVA prior to coming to South Bend, you could sort of think Miles Boykin and Jeff Samardzija. Unbelievable athleticism, ability to high point the ball, take off and run. Though when you make the Boykin comparison, to me at least, I feel like, and this is no disrespect to Miles, that Fields appears to be the complete athlete here. He's a bit more athletic, a bit more maneuverability. Just from my perspective, doesn't mean I'm correct, just what I see. But he's a legitimate target who can win battles, create separation, and stretch the field. This is a kid that committed to Notre Dame back in December. I mentioned the 4 seasons at Virginia, 800 receiving yards the past 2 seasons in 23 and 24, 800 plus in each of those, I should say. And the Notre Dame football program got to look at him up close and in person last year in South Bend when he went for 4 catches for 81 yards as Notre Dame had their way with UVA in that one. So the coaches and the players who are returning got an up-close look at what Fields brings to the table. And when you talk about sort of the fit here, I like it. I think it's a dream, actually. You already have on this roster receivers who can operate with efficiency in space, thanks to speed and athleticism. Faison and Jaden Greathouse are 2 that come to mind. But what the addition of Fields does for Notre Dame, yes, it gives you more speed, more athleticism, but it's a receiver who can go up and get the football. 6'4", 220 can't be undersold here. This is huge in the red zone, all right? And it's a perfect complement to what the Irish already have because we know they're under a new QB. It's either going to be Minchie or Carr. So what they already have at their disposal, add in Malachi Fields. You have another transfer who came in Will Pauling, who I'll talk more about tomorrow. But with a probable rotation that features Fields as your boundary guy, Greathouse across from him, and Faison in the slot, Notre Dame has itself a scary arsenal to line up with. Are we getting Samardzija Stovall, the Tate Floyd 1-2 punch vibes yet? Probably not, because we haven't seen this group play together. But the potential for explosivity is there. And as a reliability, it's obviously on the table because that's what Notre Dame needs the most on the outside. You've got the speed. We saw how great Jaden Greathouse was last year in creating opportunities in open space, breaking off routes from defenders, and how good he was in crucial moments, i.e. the college football playoff run. But now you've got your size guy. And when you talk about having someone like Eli Raridan, who's a bigger framed athletic tight end, that's a nice combination to have from a pass-catching perspective, but that 1-2-3 with Fields, Greathouse, and Faison is as solid as it comes. And even with a new quarterback, whether it's Kenny Minchie or CJ, it's basically irrelevant because they are going to have weapons at their disposal, and now you're going to have weapons that give you veteran leadership and reliability at different points across the football field. It's certainly going to be fun to watch. I think Notre Dame hit the home run of all home runs with Malachi Fields, and I can't wait to watch him play because Notre Dame really, since Boykin and beyond that, Stovall and Samardzija, really haven't had those guys that can really go up and get that football from the wide receiver position, and a big frame at 6'4", 220 just makes you salivate. Just dipping back into the recruiting world, the 26 class we know is remarkable from top to bottom, even with a couple of misses, it happens. But Marcus Freeman continues to do his due diligence on the 27 trail. You had 27 4-star Keegan Croucher, a quarterback, visit the Golden Dome this week. He was throwing for the Irish coaching staff. As we know, the past few weekends and days have been a busy time in recruiting in South Bend, and as the Irish continue to build their roster moving forward. And it's great to see, and this is not anything that I'm saying that is Nostradamus based, it's great to see that Marcus Freeman is already looking down the road and getting an early start in recruitment with this 27 class. For Croucher, Cheshire Academy star, this is the second time that he's been in South Bend the past 3 months. The first time he came in April. And while there's no official offer to the Connecticut quarterback yet, Marcus Freeman, Coach Gino and company, get that quick jump to build a foundation with a student athlete who they view as a potential fit in their system and on their campus. Early meetings are even more crucial. We know that. With Croucher, tenfold. He already has offers from Michigan, Indiana, Minnesota, Ole Miss, Penn State, Nebraska, Oregon, and that's not even all of them. And while Notre Dame, and I love these little tie-ins and these little tidbits with the different states that Notre Dame has recruited in, and Croucher's no different coming from Connecticut. We know Notre Dame has a history of doing very well in New Jersey, very well in Texas, and recently the Carolinas. But they're no strangers to Connecticut either. You think about former QB like Drew Pine, defensive lineman Mike Golick and his son Mike Golick Jr., John Carney, the great kicker who had a solid pro career, and John Sullivan, who was another offensive lineman. They're all from the Constitution State, so the Irish are familiar with going into that ground and doing their homework and getting some guys to come to campus. Might Croucher be next? We'll certainly see. Time's going to tell, and we have a lot of that. But you can never start too early. So when you start to see some of the names that are on this 27 recruiting table, Notre Dame has really done a solid job in identifying who they think might be those fits. Another potential fit, but backtracking into the 26 class, is Devin Fitzgerald, and he's been receiving headlines for all the right reasons the last couple of days. We know, I said it yesterday, his announcement date comes on July 5th. And while we still have to wait a couple of weeks, there seems to be some incredible news from a Notre Dame perspective. I got the alert last night, as I'm sure many of you did, on my phone while I was watching the Yankees lose again, that Fitzgerald, who of course is the son of NFL great Larry Fitzgerald, is not going to take his visit to North Carolina, which was on the table. All other visits beyond the Carolina visit have now been canceled as well. So you're reading between the tea leaves that seem to be blatantly obvious. The 6'2", 195-pound target, and by the way, I got that alert last night from Rivals to say that the UNC meeting is over. He's not going. So Notre Dame really right there getting that last swing that they didn't expect. So the impression was there. I talked yesterday about how Fitzgerald was gloating about his visit to Notre Dame via his X account. So the fact that he has canceled this with Bill Belichick and North Carolina seems to bode well for Notre Dame. And as I'm watching it last night, watching the Yankee game, I get the alert on my phone. As I sort of think about it, I sit there and go, this kid's coming to Notre Dame. And with all of the schools after him, including Dad's alma mater in Pittsburgh, why not? The Irish were his most recent stop in a long list of visits. Then you get this. Young Fitz is probably leaning gold and blue here, folks. And I'm not going to get carried away from it because we do have to wait till July 5. But it looks pretty darn good if you're a follower of the gold and blue. All right, so those of you who track this recruiting scene like I do, it appears you just got some incredibly positive news about the prospects of Devin Fitzgerald coming to play his college ball out of the 26 class in South Bend. That'll put a bow on this one for today. I will talk to all of you tomorrow as we continue our player breakdown, starting with the portal, and we'll talk a little bit about Notre Dame transfer Will Pauling. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, go Irish.